Hey guys, Josh here, just going through. I'm going to take you through a video on how to set up the Swan, and obviously a few tips and things that I've learnt over time, and a couple of really important things just to make sure that we don't break certain elements of it. So I'll take you through that. The idea of it is that then you can use the video to pause, do those bits that you're working on at the time. You can play it when you're ready, move on to the next stage, pause it again, etc., until we get through to the end. So hopefully it helps. Couple of first things: if you are going to be on a powered site, on the back here is where you'll plug in your power cord, and that'll obviously just go through to the mains power at the campground itself. If you are with power, you won't need to worry too much about anything else. It'll work, like the fridge and everything runs off power, but that's fine. I'll run through a few other bits and pieces as we go around. Second thing you can do without needing too much, if you are connected to water, I'll just quickly run through that. So that is, if you have mains water, I'm just going to go ahead and open this guy here. Plug that in until it clips in. Obviously just a bit of plastic. It does help to have a second hand to sort of hold that plastic edge so it doesn't snap off, and then all you're going to do from there is turn the water on. They're just a couple of things you can do before it gets to that stage of lifting up the van. The other thing I like to do before you lift up is just to get anything out of this guy here that you are going to need. So for you guys in particular, it's going to be the guy ropes and things that I've got in here. If you're connecting your water, I've got a water hose in here. I've got a waste hose that you can connect to the waste. I'll quickly show you where that is as well. So just down and under, just in here. This guy is your waste hose, so you can connect that to that and run it to the drain. Get that out. I've got a chain in here in case you do need to lock anything up. Chocks if you need to level. Going to definitely need those. They're going to be your pegs. Obviously won't take them out just now. Outside of that, guys, I've got just a small toolbox. It's just got a couple of basic screwdrivers, wrenches, that sort of thing. So get all those out first. Just a little bit more annoying once we do slide out the beds to access that. So I like to do that first, and then you can close it up. Gas bottles are on the front. Should be plenty of gas in the one on the left still, but if it's not, you do need to change it. There should be some tools in there to allow you to do that. We've got a second one just over here, so we just get into that by unclipping, changing those over, swapping them over. Outside of that, all nice and simple so far. First thing you do once you've parked and you've obviously taken the camper off your car, a few of these guys that we need to get out. This is the tool we use to wind up the camper. This is going to be for your supports underneath, which we're going to do in a moment. And this one here is going to be for the awning. And then we've got a middle pole here that we're going to also use for the awning, just to give it some more support when you get to that stage. So before you do lift it up, we've got 4 supports. One on this side, which we just pull the red, that'll drop down and click in. Got one on the other side over here. All right, I'll go around and undo all of those. Sometimes a little stiff. Number 4. Front ones are fine here because we are obviously on a bit of a hill. Before I do the back ones, just a quick note: the van does need to be pretty level for the fridge and everything to turn on and work. You do have a level gauge here that you can use as well, just to make sure that it is level. From there, using this tool, as I said, we can then lower the supports on the back. All we're going to do is wind that around till it drops down. done, repeat the same thing on the other side. Bear in mind I'm trying to do most of this one-handed as I hold the camera, so obviously, as I said, you'll be able to put that down, wind with two, do everything you need. All right, once that's done, I'm going to put that one away. I no longer need it, so that one just lives inside the side boot here. From there it becomes winding up the actual camper. I've got this little guy here we just need to open. I'll grab one of the tools in a moment, but we do need to make sure that these clips are undone before we can do that. I just clip those back on so I don't lose them. I've only got clips on the front two, so you will notice when you're doing it on the back here I don't have the clips, so don't stress, you haven't lost them. Alright, now we need our wind up tool, which is this one here. Quick note, I'll set up one of these today in terms of the bed end flies. So the idea of those is they help keep things cooler, give it more shade, also protect the canvases and all that sort of stuff if it does rain, that sort of thing. So there's one on each end. What I'm going to do is open one of them, just because I'm doing this by myself and it is much easier to put back in with two people, one on either side winding it up. Unclip, have the zips here. These are normally tied up. I obviously didn't do that well last time. Normally just tied up in here. Undo those. Does make bringing the bed ends out a little more annoying having them out already. Of course, if you have a ladder with you, I think I will include and put the little one in, but it is somewhat harder once it's up. It's got a bit of height on it to get access to those. So with that out, we're just going to start winding. When we start winding, this part is important that you do it nice and slow. And normally in 3 parts, so think about it in 3/3. About 1/3 of the way, I just go around and double check that nothing looks caught. I have already done this today, so I won't do it again now. We've got one of these on this corner here at the back, and then on the front on the opposite corner. Now, this is a guide to tell you how far to put up the van, so please, this is the most important part. You can overwind and pop these arms. If that happens, bit of work to get them back in, so just making sure that, you know, when you see these tightening up, that we don't go further. So I'm going to just go up another 1/3 now. Can see how we're getting closer to this being tight. I'm going to move these out of the way. And from there, as it's getting tighter, I just go around and check. One of them seems to be slightly tighter than the other, so just to make sure, and it is this one here, so you can sort of see it's a little bit tighter. So it hasn't got much to go. I'm going to wind that up just a little bit more. I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. What we're then going to do, just open the door. I'll latch that up for the time being. From there, guys, it's about sliding the beds out. So to do that, we just want to make sure that none of the canvas is going to get caught. We're going to slide these out. Now, it can be done from inside. I normally like to start it from outside just because it's easier to access. And again, you can then keep an eye on making sure that none of that canvas is getting caught. You can see there a little bit being caught, so that's why it's important to check. As I said, a little bit annoying with the bed end fly there, but there's really no other way around it. Now, knowing that no canvas is currently being caught, I'm going to jump in. You can pull these, slide the bottom. The other one will fold down for your stairs. And from there we can push beds out in place. Just be careful again, just making sure that nothing is getting caught. Same at the other end. A couple of things that I will take out, so don't worry about this guy here, but I'll show you the next step. Underneath the beds at both ends, you're going to find some poles. Up this end, you've got two different types. This one is obviously just to set up the actual bed end itself. It is nice and easy, but a little bit more difficult with one hand. So firstly, just going to push the canvas over, because this guy is going to fold up. Then what we're doing, putting the pole in that hole. Going to push him back gently, and then up the top here is where this guy slides in. Can take a little bit of pressure to do that. And it should look like this, tucked in. Once that's done, actually I will show you just here quickly. We do have, this is a child feature, if you do have children, they will clip in up here just to give them a bit of support so they don't fall out. If you don't need that, obviously you can just keep that underneath the mattress like so. Coming back out, now again, because I'm on a bit of a slant, it's a little bit more difficult, but underneath this side of the bed I've got the support poles, so just up in here. Alright, we can see them here. So these poles here, they go underneath. We've also got, if you have these little guys here facing inwards, so that one goes in this side. Then we lift till that goes in. Do that on both. Bit of trouble. Right, he's in. Then also underneath here, one more pole. Alright, so these guys just act as an extra support. Where we put those, there's two of these. One of them's going to go on this one, just up to there. Has a bit of support. Once that's done, it's going to tuck back in. Blanket here, and this guy, I'm going to just make sure it comes all the way down. You can see the Velcro underneath here. So once we get this pulled down, we just push that underneath nice and tight. Under here as well. And all the way along this side. Cool. Once that's done, you've got your support poles there, you've got your support pole on the inside and the other pole on here. So we put those on the opposite end of where our green straps are. Green strap, pole. Down this end we're going to do the same thing. So I'll head back inside first, show you what it looks like now on the inside. Some leaves. One sec while I put this down. Alright, then we just move on to the other side. So again, starting under here. Alright, so just moving through the second side, same pole on the inside here, remembering that that just goes up into this one. Again, can be a little tight, so I'm just going to put the phone down for a second. All done. Sit nice and tight. And again, guys, from there I'm just going to move around the back. Put those poles and things for underneath. And make sure that all of the canvas is down where it needs to be. So again, being careful not to get it pinched. Once you've done that, strap it underneath and the Velcro, just like the other side. Take those poles out before you strap this one. Again, there should be 3 total. Our support pole, which I'll just put in now. Again, opposite end of the green strap. And then our support poles at the actual bed. So this one goes on top of this. Spin that around. Just in there. Again, you do have to use a bit of strength to get those on. In, support poles in, and as I mentioned, that's why I like to do that first, because this can be a little bit annoying to get anything out of the boot from that point. You still can, but just a little bit more annoying. So again, once that's done, finishing off the canvas nice and tight. Make sure you Velcro underneath like so. Now with the bed end flies, guys, there are poles and things you can use. Try and keep it simple. So for this end here, I just normally wrap it around in here. If it gets windy, you know, you can strap them down. I've got obviously more straps and things you can use over here to pull that down and peg to the ground. I typically don't unless it's windy. Don't bother. Trying to keep it as simple and easy as possible, just like so. Alright, as you can see, everything done in here. You've got blinds and things that you can use. Move this out for now. Fridge is already on. I'll have that on for you anyway. What we do want to do is just make sure that everything is turned on over here. So for this one, I'm just going to make sure that is done for you. And then we've got our hot water down here as well, which I just need to flick on. I will do that inside of the app in a moment and make sure that is on for you. For the lights, guys, this little plug here needs to be in, so we just simply slot that in. If the lights are turned on, which they're not at the moment, that will then work. I'll just see if I can do that here. Otherwise, I will do it now on the app and come back to another video. Alrighty, so everything obviously is switched on. So as I said, the fridge you won't need to do anything for. If you are on power, you will just see that this is where it will be now. I'll just flick this on and back off. So you'll see right now it's going to flash to gas because I've taken it off the power. Now you will need the gas for the hot water as well. So when you do turn up on your set and everything's connected and you're good to go, if you're off grid in particular, you'll need that for your fridge straight away. Just flick the gas on. Said that will also run your hot water. So with that one off, your hot water normally comes through pretty quick and you'll hear it fire up with the gas. Alright, so nice and hot real quick. Cold water obviously. If you're connected to the tanks, I would obviously use your water sparingly because it's two 80-litre tanks. If you are connected to mains, then you're all good. As I mentioned, you will have to have this plugged in, this little 12-volt socket as well, so that is responsible for your lights. So if that's not plugged in, lights won't work up here. You've got normal lights, blue light, both ends. You've also got some fans down here that do plug in up here as well, so into these little sockets here, and then you can hang them on the pole and use as a fan. If you put that plug in and the lights don't work straight away, just outside there's a little switch. Sometimes it gets caught. You'll need something to stand on. Just up here, this little guy here, sometimes it gets caught up in here, so you just got to pull it just loosely. It's not something you need to pull on. Just move that around, pull it down, and that normally fixes that. It's essentially it, guys. Pretty much all set, ready to go. Yeah, so you've got your water. Fridge is working. As I said, if I was to, you can see that that little gas light is on. I'll just show you what happens if I plug back in the power. So if you are at a powered site, it'll be plugged in, and then what you find is it'll work on power from that point forward. So that's by default. Come back up here, and rather than the gas, it'll be on AC. Do make sure that this is clicked over when you're traveling. Obviously when you're not traveling, it's fine, you can undo. So the fridge will be on cold for you. You can put your things on in, latch that on. A couple of quick things. If you're again connected to power and you're using cooking inside here, so this is gas. We've got one of these that is on, so this one over here is power. So if you're not connected to a powered site, that one won't work. Sometimes obviously it takes a little bit to get the gas through the lines as well, so you might need to run your switches here but essentially we turn those on. It does usually take a little bit of time to come through. I'm just going to keep running that through. Push in and hit the buzzer, and then it'll work. If it doesn't come through immediately, all it's going to take is a little bit of time to get that gas through, but again, round to the big flame, push in, you can actually hear the gas coming out at that point. Just when you finish cooking, please don't put it down straight away, this guy, otherwise it will break under that heat. Other than that, we are all good for the setup. Only one other thing outside that I haven't shown you so far, that is the awning. Actually, there is this thing here. So these guys, when you do pull up, just make sure they come right over. This acts as a bit more support if it does rain. So they go over the poles and strap in here. So again, you'll probably need a ladder, a little one, to get up to the corners and plug that in underneath. You've got one of those up here as well. And on either side, so you'll see 3 and 4, so that covers those poles. So we just go in here, pull it right back, put it over the top, connect it to the Velcro. And the other thing that I did forget to go through is the door, which is pretty important. Show you how to do that. Always start by, here we go. So always start just by bringing that door back in. Up here, you got a couple of latches, 1 and 2, and then that will swing down. Just going to make sure that these are out of the way. And we've got these here, so we're going to push, tighten that on. Sometimes I get these mixed up still. Then we sort of just want to lift it. So good point. That's one of the things that I always do wrong. Before I connect those up, I'm going to lift this up on top of these little markers. Make sure that is in. There we go. Just make sure it is in nice and strong. One there is not. There we go. I'm just going to clip this in here. Pulls that down. Sometimes a little fidgety. And from there we've got to do, so what happens, sometimes we just need to wind up the camper just a tiny bit more. Where is that? 1 and 2. And if this guy's not quite sitting on it properly, I'll just move that across. Sometimes it comes loose, so if that does, just let me know. So we'll need to just fix that a little bit. So from there, just watching that cord carefully wind up a little tighter. Normally gives this just enough to then push with a little bit of force this through. Now it clips in, then once that clips in, they just go over the top. As I said, it can be a little fidgety. And of course that is one full solid door. And again, a couple of little bits and pieces, just in terms of making this all sit nice, so they can all go back and get attached in here, etc. And then that is all done. Obviously blinds and things, but yeah, that's it for the setup inside. So just out here, as I said, one last thing in terms of the awning. 2 hands normally is a good thing. I'll show you with one, so I won't quite go all the way. But this goes in We need to hold it with one hand, wind with the other. That'll get the awning to come out. One thing with the awnings, guys, is they're not great in the wind. They can rip and that sort of stuff. So if you do have a really windy day, I'm not just talking like a little bit of wind, but if you're expected to get storms or high gusts of wind, always best just to wind it back in. Otherwise, when it's out, you can wind it out a bit further than I have. These things just pull sort of forwards a little bit and unclip. Once you've done that, the legs go down. Got this guy here that you just need to tighten when you've got it at the height that you want. Obviously you're going to put it out a bit further than I have. Same thing on this side, pull out and it winds down. Alright, unless it's windy, you don't really need to worry about too much with the pegs, but I do often just put one peg in the bottom end, and it will go out obviously further than what that is right now. I'm just doing that because I've only got one of me here. It's handy just to have a second person just supporting the end as you unwind it all the way. Outside of that, you've then got this support pole, which is an important one. You will use, so he goes up in here. And then we just extend into this pole, this hole here. Make sure it's as tight as you can get it. That just helps keep the middle nice and supported. And yeah, that's it. Any questions? 0407 831 208. Just give me a call and I will help you through it. Alright guys, just going to take you through now the cleanup and the pack up of Jayco Swan. So I'll start with what I've just finished with here. Let's pretend I've taken out that middle support pole for the annex, as I just have. So I'm going to just put that back in here and put things away as I get to them. Bring this out ready for when we get to this section. But I'll start here, so I'm going to undo that, slide this up. He clips in. Again, all we're doing is winding this up now. Sometimes if you look up there, the awning doesn't quite go in straight. So just give it up and back a couple of times until it does. That's then done. I can put that one away. I will sort of I'll go in reverse to the way that I set it up just to make it easy. So I'm going to do the door next. Just going to close that one off. Take off those. And then this guy just needs to pop back through. Undo. I'm just going to put this down for 1 sec. Undoing that clip just makes life easier for this part. Pop him back out so he just comes out. And then what will happen is we can just sort of lift. I did forget to take off, and as I said, I still continue to forget to do things, but taking off the Velcro makes life a lot easier. And also just keeping those across to there. Alrighty. Something that got me caught out a fair few times putting them up originally. Again, it comes down to this guy, so just when you do this, don't clip it up in that position. We want to rotate this all the way up, so rather than down, have it all the way up and then strap in, otherwise it gets stuck on the way when you're trying to put the ceiling down later. The ends get stuck. It becomes very annoying. For now, just going to quickly put that up here. Alright, I'm just going to do a couple of these bits and pieces on the inside as well, so take that out, that one down. I would just be careful when you're doing things, make sure you sort of unplug the water before you muck around too much with it, otherwise if that happens to flick on accidentally, it obviously causes a flood that we don't want. Before you do wind down, we do need to pull this out and just sit it down here. Please don't forget to do that because it will snap otherwise. Other than that, everything else, I'm just going to quickly run around the side and just remind you of a couple of bits and pieces down here. So that can come off. These guys just need to be pulled back and pushed back underneath. And all of these things are much easier when you have two hands and something to stand on. So pushing those through, they can strap straight back on. There. While we're there, I can take that support pole out. Remember, that will go underneath the mattress. Oops. Turn the water off and take out that. Do him back up. Always, of course, have issues trying to get things out when I don't want to have issues getting things out. Alright, so then just coming around, I'll finish taking the Velcros off here. So it's just easier if I can reach and stand up here, so I'm just using the stool. I'll take out that support pole. And the same down here. The neater everything is, the easier it is to bring down. Alright, before you can do the inside of the beds and everything, we do need to firstly take off all the Velcros. While I'm there, I'm going to take out the support poles underneath. Support poles. Obviously, once you've finished on the inside, turn the gas off. From there, it's about pushing the beds back in. So what we're going to do when we do the beds, guys, is again just making sure that nothing's getting caught. So I'll push from the outside to start with, just makes it a little bit easier. go a little bit and just check that it's all okay. Nothing's getting caught. Lines are out of the way. That pole can come off. I did actually forget to do that, so it's one thing that I should have done beforehand. So before you do push it in, slide him out. That'll allow that to come forward. And that can actually go straight under. Front there. Same on this one, straight under. Sort of half push everything in. And again, just making sure as you go, nothing's getting caught on those. Obviously note that when these are all the way back in, they do come a fair way through. So just be aware that there's not much room in there once you're done. So obviously if you need to get anything out major, you can still access things when it's closed down just by lifting it up, just enough to get the door open, but it's much easier to remove the food that you don't want, everything before that happens. Keep that bed end fly right out of the way. It's, again, certainly one of the more annoying ways to do it with one person with the bed end flies, but that's okay. That one off. Alright, so once that and they are all the way in, I'm just going to sort of make sure canvas goes up. This actually needs to come back on the inside, so I'll go and do that from inside. And that only happened because I didn't do it the right way. So again, once you've already pulled things in, you can still get in here. It's just a little bit more annoying to crawl under things. As you can see, that comes through. Canvas just needs to come in on top of the bed on both sides. Once we're comfortable, we feel like that's all done. Start to wind down. Again in 2/3, so I've got the wind down obviously different direction this time. Gonna look at it in 2/3 again, or 3/3 I should say. Nice and slow. When you get down about 1/3, it's good to go around and just push things back in particular just trying to get these green straps well away from the edge. not ideal to poke it in from the middle, so try and go in where the solid parts are rather than where the fly screens are. Going to close that door as I just go around and push these guys in, make it a little neater. I'll worry about this bed end fly after. Once you've got it down, it's a little neater. I find it easiest just to go around then and put your poles in. So these are the 3 poles, support poles. You can do it earlier if you want to as well. Put the phone down for 2 seconds while I do that. All comes down to whether you can reach it earlier or not. Put those 3 again under the bed, nice and neat. And then I'll just continue around. Pushing in the canvas. Once that's done, I'll wind it down a little further. So again, another 1/3. All it is just a matter of then going around and doing that bit by bit. As I do that, keep tucking in the green cord. And on this side, I'll do those poles now, so I'm just going to put the phone down. Easy. Poking this in. Plugging this in. Find that as you go around, things start to stay a little more. A little more. Just need to make sure it's all well out of the way. When it does come around to shutting, it just needs to be inside of the seals. Final couple of adjustments. Normally take it down to a couple of inches then, and just again try and get the last little bits to flick underneath. So I'm looking pretty good. Clips out of the way. Cool. Just these bits over here are a little bit annoying. Go. So it's probably just a couple of little spots now that I'm going to be wary of just in the last bit, so I'll take it down another inch pretty close, and then just make sure that none of it's getting caught. If they are, probably just wind up a tiny bit so I can get my finger in there. Perfect. As I said, the more care you take, the easier it tends to be when it comes down to the final bits. It's all going down pretty well. So I'll bring it all the way down. If it's all gone down correctly, you'll be able to latch these guys back up, and that'll latch it over the door. Latch. Done. Alright, so that's all latched up. Obviously I've put everything back on. At that stage, when you've got two of you there, it's easy just to sort of, I'm going to wait and do this after, but we just want to flap over the black bits, get it all nice and square, and then if you've got two people to roll it up nice and neatly, it makes life much easier. Get it rolled up, tie off the black bits, clip it back on, and then that will be done. The only other thing you then have to do, of course, before you roll away is to wind these guys back up. And then where possible, get them going back in that direction. Let's pretend I've gone around and done all four of those. What they advise you do is just ever so slightly wind back up, just to get a little bit of tension back on. You're not talking much, just a tiny bit, just so there's some tension on there. You can go back in. Bottom step folds on top, slides back in, and then you're good to go. Just a matter of unplugging power, packing away anything that wants to go back in that front boot once you've done this guy up inside of there, and you are good to go. Outside of that, guys, any questions, reach out. Again, my number is 0407 831208. Flick me a message anytime, always happy to help. Thanks, guys.